Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel, Fluent Pro Hub.
Have you ever found yourself scratching your head, wondering why such tiny words in English, these things we call prepositions, can cause such big confusion?
Oh, absolutely.
It seems so simple, right?
Yeah.
But they hold immense power. Like, they can completely change a sentence's meaning.
You really can.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into English prepositions. And for us, that means we're pulling apart your sources, all the research you've shared with us, to really distill the most vital knowledge, hopefully giving you those aha moments about why these little words are actually so crucial.
Indeed. Prepositions are, well, they're small but mighty words. They precisely show the relationship between different parts of a sentence. They don't just tell us where something is or when something happens. They also describe how something moves, or even why two ideas are connected. They're often overlooked, I think, but honestly, without them, our communication would just be fragmented. It'd be like trying to follow directions with half the steps missing.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this. There's that classic example from our sources. If I say, I put the book on the table, that tiny word on, it just paints an immediate, clear picture. You know exactly where the book ended up, instantly. But if I just said, I put the book, well, you're left hanging, aren't you? Like, what happened to the book? Where did it go?
Exactly.
So on provides that crucial direction, location, and connection. It really is like the glue holding our sentences together, giving them coherence.
And what's fascinating there is how that one small word transforms a vague idea into really precise information. Think about giving directions like you said, go to the park. It just sounds broken, doesn't it?
Completely broken, yeah.
But add, go to the park, and suddenly the path is clear. Or, consider the common distinctions we struggle with, like between in, on, and at when talking about location or time. The real insight here, I think, isn't just knowing their individual definitions one by one. It's understanding the underlying logic or maybe the semantic field they represent. Like, at often signals a precise point, suggests a surface or maybe a line, like a timeline.
Right.
And in usually means an enclosed space or some kind of boundary. Recognizing this kind of consistent logic, that's where the real clarity starts to come from.
That's a great way to frame it. Not just what they mean individually, but what kind of relationship they represent. Containment, surface, point.
Exactly.
So let's explore some of the most common ones then. And remember, as we go through this, the goal isn't about rote memorization, right?
No, definitely not.
It's more about building an intuitive feel through context. So you can start to, feel which preposition fits where. Let's kick off with in. Many of us get the simple stuff like the keys are in my bag, physical enclosure.
Right.
But what's the deeper insight? How does in stretch beyond just, being inside a box or a bag?
That's where it gets really interesting. And, where the challenge often lies for learners, the deep dive really starts when in refers to time, like, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Or even those abstract conditions like, he's in a good mood.
Okay, yeah.
The aha moment, I think, is recognizing this consistent underlying idea of containment within some kind of boundary. It applies whether that boundary is a physical space, like your bag, or a time frame, like 10 minutes, or an abstract state, like a mood.
I see.
Or even a large geographical area, like she lives in New York. It's still within boundaries. And this idea often carries over into phrasal verbs, too, where in frequently keeps that sense of inclusion, like believing yourself. You're contained within that belief, sort of.
So it's all about being contained or within. That actually makes a lot of sense. It simplifies it. Now, moving from containment to, say, contact, let's talk about on. What's its main job and how does it differ from in, especially in those tricky edge cases?
Well, on primarily conveys something touching the surface of something else or perhaps being supported by it. The phone is on the table or the picture's on the wall. Those are the classic examples. Physical contact.
Right, surface contact.
But its use expands beyond just flat surfaces. Think about linear concepts. We use it for specific days and dates, like we have a meeting on Monday or my birthday is on June 15th.
Okay, why on for dates?
You can almost picture it like a point on a timeline. It's located on that specific day.
Okay, like pinning it on a calendar?
Exactly. And it's also really common with technology. I saw it on TV, or he works on the computer. It's like interacting with the surface or the platform.
Got it.
And it can also describe a state of activity, where something is running or active, like the light is on or the show is on.
That distinction between in for containment and on for contact or linearity is actually quite helpful when you put it like that. Now, at is another one. It frequently gets mixed up with in and on. What's the core characteristic of at? What makes it different?
At is really all about precision. It highlights a specific point in space or time. So unlike in, which might cover a larger area, or on, which is about a surface at, tends to pinpoint something.
Pinpoint, okay.
So you'd say, I will meet you at the door, not in the door, usually, or on the door. Or she is waiting at the bus stop. A specific point.
Right.
Same goes for exact times. The class starts at 9 a.m. or we eat dinner at 7:30. Very specific moments. And interestingly, it extends to activities or skills, again, signifying a point of focus. She is good at singing, or they are laughing at the joke. The consistent theme really is that specific, pinpointed location, time, or focus.
Okay, so if in is kind of like the box and on is the surface, at is the dot.
That's a great way to visualize it. Yeah, a dot on the map or a specific tick on the clock.
That really helps build that intuition. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about prepositions that show position relative to other things. It's about painting that picture of where something is compared to something else.
Exactly. Relationships in space. Let's look at under, above, and below. Under basically means beneath something, usually for physical position. The cat is under the chair. Pretty straightforward. But it also carries the suggestion of being subordinated or maybe controlled by something, like he is under stress or the company is under new management.
Ah, okay. Like under pressure or under authority.
Precisely. So it's about being physically beneath or sometimes within a sphere of influence or control. Then you have above, which means higher than something else, and importantly, usually not touching. Think the plane is flying above the clouds.
Right, detached.
Yes. And it can also signify superiority or exceeding a standard. His score was above average, or even temperature, like the temperature is above 0. And below is pretty much the direct opposite of above. It simply means lower than something. The fish are below the surface, or the temperature dropped below freezing.
It's really quite fascinating how just one word can completely reorient a scene just by setting up that relative position. What's a common mistake here? Or maybe a subtle nuance people miss with these, like when would you use below instead of under if they both mean lower?
That's a really good question, and it does get into nuance. Under often implies direct vertical alignment, and sometimes contact or being covered, like the blanket is under the bed, it's directly beneath and maybe touching.
Okay.
Below is more generally about vertical position, but without necessarily implying that direct alignment or covering. Think the temperature is below 0. 0 isn't covering the temperature.
Right, it's just lower on the scale.
Exactly. Or you could be below someone on an organizational chart, meaning lower rank, but you wouldn't typically say under them unless you mean direct supervision, that under control sense again.
Ah, I see. So that underlying idea of direct contact or control versus just relative position helps guide the choice.
It often does. Yep. Now, let's look at over. This one is remarkably versatile. It does a lot of work. It can mean covering something like she put a blanket over the baby. It can mean movement across and usually above. He jumped over the fence. Or the bird flew over the house.
Got it. Across and up.
Yes. And when you're talking about time or quantity, over often means more than. We talked for over an hour.
Okay, like exceeding an amount.
Right. And it can even simply mean finished or completed. The game is over.
I'm genuinely, fascinated by how over can carry so many different meanings in one small word. How do native speakers just know? Is there some subtle thread connecting these uses?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's partly learned usage, of course, but I think there often is a thread. It often relates to the idea of surpassing or passing beyond a boundary or limit.
Surpassing, okay.
Yeah, whether it's physically moving over an obstacle or time exceeding an hour, over an hour, or an event concluding and moving past its endpoint, game over. Recognizing that core idea of crossing or surpassing can sometimes help connect the dots.
That does help frame it. Thanks. Now, what about across? This one seems a bit more straightforward.
It generally is. Across usually means from one side to the other side, conveying that idea of crossing a space. So you'd say, she walked across the street, or the bridge goes across the river. Moving from point A to point B over a space.
Simple enough. Okay.
Now, moving on to another common point of confusion, let's compare between and among. Between is typically used for two things, or 2 points, or 2 people. Think. The ball is between the 2 trees, or the meeting is between 3 and 4 p.m. 2 distinct points.
Right.
In contrast, among is generally for 3 or more things or people. It signifies being part of a group or sort of mixed within an undifferentiated mass. She stood among the crowd, or the secret was shared among the friends.
That's a key difference. I've definitely seen learners mix those two up quite a bit. Are there any tricky situations where that line gets blurry, where the 2 versus 3 or more rule isn't quite so hard and fast?
You're right to ask. It's mostly a reliable rule, but the nuance comes in when you're discussing relationships that are maybe reciprocal or individually distinct within a larger group.
How so?
Well, for example, you might correctly say, a treaty was signed between the 5 nations.
Even though it's 5?
Yes, if you're emphasizing the distinct individual relationships or negotiations connecting each of those 5 nations, rather than just a general distribution among them all collectively.
Okay. So it's less about the raw number sometimes, and more about whether you're highlighting distinct pairings versus just a general collective.
Exactly. It's about the type of relationship you're describing within the group. But the 2 versus more rule is a very solid starting point most of the time. And just to quickly cover proximity, let's group beside, next to, near, and far from. Beside and next to mean very close to, often touching or immediately adjacent. They're largely interchangeable in most contexts. The lamp is beside the bed, or he sat next to me.
Favorite there.
Near also means close to, but it's generally less exact. It doesn't necessarily imply touching or immediate adjacency. The school is near the market. It could be down the street.
A bit more vague.
Exactly. And then far from is simply the opposite, showing significant distance or sometimes even a metaphorical difference. The hotel is far from the city center, or that idea is far from the truth.
You know, the idea of far from reminds me of a time I got directions saying something was near a landmark. And let's just say near turned out to be a very relative term.
Happens all the time.
It just shows how crucial getting these precise words right actually is for clear communication.
Okay, let's shift now to prepositions that describe movement through space or perhaps define different kinds of relationships.
Sure. Let's explore around, this one's quite common. It can mean surrounding something, like there are trees around the house, like encirclement. It can also mean approximately or about, especially with time. I'll come around 6 o'clock.
Well, like give or take.
Exactly. Or it can indicate movement in a circular path or exploring an area.
Wow.
We walked around the park.
Okay, and then there's through. What's the core idea of through? Through generally means moving from one side or point to the other while inside something, or sometimes penetrating something. Think, we drove through the tunnel.
Inside and across.
Right, or the water flows through the pipe. It can also imply from start to finish, especially with time or tasks. She read through the book, meaning she completed it, or we worked through the night.
Completion, okay. That makes sense.
And to show movement specifically in and out, we have the pair into and out of. Into shows movement toward the inside of something, or the act of entering. She walked into the room, or even collision. The car crashed into the wall. Movement towards and making contact or entering.
Right.
Out of is its clear opposite. It shows the act of leaving or exiting. He came out of the house. Or it can mean lacking or running out of something. She took the book out of the bag, or they ran out of time.
Okay, that pairing is quite intuitive.
Yeah.
And for directionality. We have toward and towards.
Yes. And the good news here is they mean exactly the same thing in the direction of something, but maybe not reaching it.
Just the direction.
Right. The only real difference is usage. Toward, without the "es," is generally preferred in American English, while towards with the "es" is more common in British English. But the meaning is identical. She walked toward the door.
Good to know. One less thing to worry about.
Then there's from, which almost always indicates the origin or the source of something. It's usually quite clear. I got a gift from my friend, or she is from India, or the sound came from upstairs, where something starts or originates.
Got it. Source point. Now let's compare another pair. With and without.
Sure. With primarily shows accompaniment being together with someone or something. I went to the park with my brother.
Okay.
Or it can indicate the tool or instrument used. She cut the paper with scissors.
The means.
Yes. And it can also express agreement or satisfaction. He is happy with his job. Without is simply the opposite. It means not having, lacking, or the absence of something. I can't live without water. Or she left without saying goodbye.
Pretty clear contrast there.
Very clear. Now, by is another one of those incredibly versatile prepositions, does a lot of different jobs. It can mean near or beside. The house is by the sea.
Okay, like proximity.
Right. It can also describe the means or method of transport or communication. I go to work by bus, or I'll send it by email.
How you do something.
Exactly. And critically, it's central to forming the passive voice. It indicates the agent, the doer of the action. The story was written by a famous author, or the window was broken by the storm.
The passive voice indicator, that's a big one.
It is. Very important function.
Next up, for. This one feels like it's about purpose.
Often, yes. For frequently shows purpose or reason. This gift is for you, or I study English for my job. Why you're doing something.
Right.
It can also indicate duration of time. I waited for 2 hours. How long something lasted.
Purpose, reason, or duration. Got it.
And finally, just to round things off, let's quickly group the remaining key time prepositions we haven't covered in detail: since, during, before, and after. Since indicates a specific starting point in time that continues up to the present. I have lived here since 2018, from that point until now.
Okay, starting point.
During means in the time of or within a specific period. I fell asleep during the movie. It happened within that time frame.
Within the event.
Exactly. And before and after are straightforwardly about time, order, or sequence. I ate breakfast before going to work, and she called me after the meeting. Sequence of events.
Simple enough. And the very last one on our list was about.
Right, about. This usually means on the subject of or concerning something. We talked about school, or this book is about animals.
The topic.
Yes. Or it can express worry or concern. I am worried about my exam.
Okay, topic or concern.
So if we try to connect all this back to the bigger picture for you, the learner, you can really start to see how understanding these, seemingly small nuances with prepositions fundamentally helps you navigate information much better. And crucially, it helps you express yourself with much greater precision.
Yeah.
It's not just about memorizing rules off a list. It's about starting to recognize the logical patterns, seeing how in relates to containment, how at relates to points. That's what turns these abstract grammar points into concrete understanding. It lets you paint clearer, more accurate pictures with your words.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means that prepositions, these small yet mighty words, are honestly far more than just dry grammar rules you have to learn. They are powerful, really essential tools for building clear communication and for sounding confident when you speak. Every single word choice matters, especially these little connectors.
And here's the crucial reassurance, I think. You really don't have to memorize all of this perfectly right now, not at all. Just listen. Maybe repeat some examples. Try using these prepositions in simple sentences as you go about your day. Notice them. Over time, your brain will naturally, almost subconsciously, start to recognize the patterns. You'll start to get a feel for which preposition fits where. It often won't be because you meticulously studied every single rule variation, but more because you've heard it and seen it enough times in context. Language learning, especially with these subtle bits, is so much about that subconscious pattern recognition.
Exactly. That's where the real confidence comes from, isn't it? Not from being able to recite a definition, but from just feeling it, from using the right word correctly without having to stop and think too hard.
Yeah.
Every time you understand a preposition you hear or use one correctly yourself, you really are taking a significant step closer to speaking English with genuine fluency and, confidence.
And, this whole process, it raises a bit of a broader question maybe. How can we apply this kind of patience, this consistent observation that's needed for mastering something subtle like prepositions? How can we apply that to other complex areas of learning in our lives?
That's interesting.
Learning a language, especially grappling with these tiny but significant distinctions, it really is like planting a seed, isn't it? At first, you water it, you care for it, but you might not see immediate dramatic growth on the surface.
Right. It takes time.
It takes time. But with that consistent effort, that quiet patience, it is growing underground. And eventually, it grows into something beautiful and strong. Just remember, slow progress is absolutely still progress. Don't get discouraged.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
So keep practicing. Keep observing. Really try to notice those tiny little words in, on, at, by. For notice them around you, in books, in movies, in conversations you overhear. You'll honestly be amazed at how quickly they start to just click into place and make perfect sense.